When it comes to the characteristics of those three sources that I began the class talking about, media, definitely the most widely available or at least easily accessible. The most reliable would be official data, and the most valid would be self-report and victimization surveys. Just to reiterate, for official reports, they tend to be highly reliable because it's easy to record the number of arrests, charges, or convictions of a person. But with the dark figure of crime, we might have certain types of crime less likely to be detected. Or if we have biases within the justice system, we might know that certain individuals are more likely to be targeted by police or by the courts or by corrections. And so those individuals may be overrepresented in official statistics, whereas other individuals are underrepresented. For example, if we have a kid in West Vancouver or Shaughnessy or something like that, and they commit a break and enter, maybe the police officer is going to simply take the individual home and ask their parents to deal with the problem. But if we're looking at the downtown east side, East Vancouver, New West, Surrey, maybe we're going to have individuals who are more likely or less likely to be white, less likely to be affluent, and maybe police are going to target them in a different way and take them to jail, take them into custody, as opposed to having parents deal with this particular offense. A really serious issue with official reports is when we rely on UCR-based data, and not all official statistics rely on UCR data. The official statistics I use don't do this, but UCR data only focuses on the most serious offense. So if an individual goes on a crime spree and in one night let's say they get drunk and they steal a car. So now they've committed motor vehicle theft, but also drinking and driving. And then after they've stolen the car, they're detected by police and they get in a high-speed chase. So now they are not just stealing a car, but they could be charged with dangerous driving, and they could be charged with like willfully resisting or obstructing a police officer. And during that drive, maybe they run over a stop sign, so now we've got vandalism or property damage as well. Ultimately, we've talked about like 6 or 7 different offenses, but the UCR definition is only going to look at the motor vehicle theft offense because that was the most serious. So we're always underestimating the amount of crime that's actually occurring. Victimization surveys help us address the dark figure of crime because they deal with offenses that are not detected by police. We can get issues with reporting biases or issues with telescoping with victimization surveys, and we also, as I mentioned, have difficulty addressing that idea of victimless crimes. What happens if we want to know about drug trafficking? Like, technically speaking, we could say that society is a victim of drug trafficking, but we can't really identify a specific victim, so it's somewhat harder to measure. We can address this with self-report studies where we can identify different crime types and ask individuals if they have ever perpetrated these crime types. One of the issues could be that it's sometimes not possible or feasible to ask participants about every single possible crime type. And crime types evolve over time. So in the 1970s and 80s, probably very few, if any, questions about committing cyber-based offenses, whereas now things like swatting can be more important to think about when building self-report surveys. Self-report surveys therefore help deal with the dark figure of crime and victimless crimes, but they might not be very effective when it comes to trying to measure the prevalence of particularly serious or stigmatizing crimes. I'm especially thinking about sexual offenses. When I would interview youth that have committed sexual offenses, they would virtually always lie. I would say like maybe 60% of kids that I would interview would lie to me when I would ask them about their history of prior sexual offending. Even if it said so on their court record, and I would ask them about it, they would say, no, I've never committed a sexual offense. And of those like 60% of kids that would lie about committing a sexual offense, even if they were convicted of that offense, even if I would follow up with them and I would say, well, look, I've looked at your criminal records and I know that you have a sexual offense. I'd like to remind you that I'm in a non-judgmental position and the survey is confidential, so you don't have to worry about me reporting this information to anybody else. Is there anything you would like to do to change your answer or respond to that question in a different way? I'd say about another like 15 to 20% of participants would still lie at least once after me giving giving them that opportunity to correct their answer. Why I'm saying this is because we can underestimate the prevalence of certain crimes like sexual offenses if we rely on these self-report interviews. Self-report studies are maybe especially prone to the issue of telescoping, and especially when we're dealing with individuals that have perpetrated a lot of crimes, because they might have even more difficulty recalling when certain crimes did or did not occur.